Good morning and welcome to our Tasio webinar on AI-driven talent, which is AI in recruitment and assessment. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers this morning, and I shall start on my left with Bertie Muller, who is the Postgraduate Programme Director for Computer Science at Swansea University. Next to him is Tom Stroud, the CEO and founder of Tasio, and accompanying us also this morning is Rebecca Foden, who is a Senior Talent Acquisition Leader in Early Careers. Our agenda this morning is focused on 4 core areas, and we're going to work through each area in turn. The first area we'll discuss is the introduction to AI and some myth busting, followed by the use of AI for recruitment and talent assessment. We're then going to talk about how candidates are using AI. And lastly, we'll discuss whether we should mitigate, guard or embrace an AI. I know you've been asked to submit questions to this webinar this morning, and so we'll pick up a Q&A at the end of our programme today. So starting our conversation today, I think we wanted to talk about AI as a technology and how AI is changing. I thought it would be interesting to talk about when we really think AI came on the scene. So I'm going to ask my panel to start contributing now and explaining to me when AI actually started to be a thing. Becky, can I start with you and your thoughts around this, please?
Thanks, Lou. So as Lou said, I worked as an early careers leader for a large firm, and I think it's fair to say that the impact of AI was very prevalent in October 2023. So as we know, ChatGPT came out, I think about 6 months earlier, but we started seeing graduates and our students using AI in our recruitment process. So it definitely had an impact, and we started to see some of the, challenges that organisations face right now presenting AI in a recruitment process.
Bertie, I think we talked earlier, didn't we? And we said that perhaps we'd seen AI coming to the fore, perhaps in the academic setting a little earlier. Do you want to talk us through your views on that?
Yeah, so a little earlier is quite an interesting term. I wear a second hat. I'm chair of AISB, the world's oldest AI society, and this society was founded in 1964.
Oh, that is a long
believe
time
it or
ago.
not, and the term AI was coined 8 years before that. So AI has been around for a very long time, and even the technology that's behind these new generative AI forms of AI has been around quite a while. Okay. So the foundations, neural networks, they've been studied towards the end of the last century already in quite some detail, but we didn't have the processing power to make them useful for many tasks.
No problem. And Tom, I think in terms of talent assessment, when did you start to see AI becoming more of a topic of concern or consideration or embrace in that sector?
I think, to be honest with you, very similar to the way that Becky sort of described it. I think probably towards the tail end of 2023, it started to become a lot more commonplace in terms of, I suppose, public awareness of the technology with the launch really of ChatGPT. I think prior to that, there were, shall we say, some outliers, some of those maybe more technical people that understood that this technology was available and could be used in various different ways. But I think probably really at the end of 23 was where we really started to see it, gain real traction, and people start to understand that it could be used for improving their chances when it came to recruitment.
And the development of AI, do we think, has it happened slowly? Has it sped up? Has it been a slow burn to this point, or has it always been quite quick and we've only just cottoned on to it?
So one of the big challenges that most organisations in the world faced post-COVID was the digitalisation of the workforce. And so all of a sudden organisations became digital tech companies, and so there was a huge embracing of digital technology. We know that students were no longer on campus, so they had all of their lectures online, and as a result of that, many organisations were forced to completely digitalise their recruitment process. So the acceleration of AI and ChatGPT has effectively been in parallel to some of the trends that were happening already.
Okay, that's
and
interesting.
So I think the adoption of technology has definitely accelerated since COVID.
Thank you. Tom and Bertie, do you agree with that? Do you think it has been in some way sort of accelerated by COVID and this non-human contact piece, or do you think it's always been in the background?
I think from my perspective, I think it's, as Bertie obviously alluded to, it's been around for an awful long time.
Yeah.
And I think probably it's been hidden maybe in many ways. So I think it's actually been seeping into our everyday lives without us really noticing it.
Okay.
I think, as we were saying earlier, obviously a large part of when you use Google, there's AI in the background, which is basically delivering the results that you're looking for. It's understanding what you mean by those queries, and then it's helping that to deliver the right results to you. So I think it's been around. I think it's like a lot of these things, though, that suddenly you get that sort of break in, you move from early adopter into sort of mass market, and then you get the proliferation of new technologies and new companies. And I think now with the massive increase in sort of the ability of cloud computing and various other things, it means that it's a lot. You can actually deploy a lot of these new technologies and create them much faster than we would have done, in years past with traditional sort of industries and things like that. So I think that's probably
No problem. Thank you.
I think COVID has definitely moved things online and into the digital space much more than previously, and then becoming available freely. ChatGPT was, of course, a big push, and this is why kind of AI is now, in the media at least, synonymously used with these large language models that drive ChatGPT and similar.
But do you think that AI
services.
has been used in other industrial sectors or embraced more readily in other sectors? I mean, for example, I don't know, automotive, maybe engineering, or perhaps science, in a way that we haven't experienced. Do you think certain sectors have led on the adoption, if you like, of AI? Or do you think it's been fairly standard across most sectors?
So I believe that it has been adopted in retail and manufacturing already. So it has been around. I think that the key trend that we're seeing now is that it's now become easily accessible to everybody. So day-to-day accessibility, and because we moved online with recruitment, then AI enables candidates to be able to pass interviews quicker, faster, and to be more successful. So there is a direct benefit between using AI and benefiting from a recruitment process. So I think the adoption is quicker. And in October in 2023, that there was some research that 50% of students in the UK were already using ChatGPT, and according to a research company, they're estimating that this will be 90%, by 2024. And so what we're also seeing in the workforce is that most firms do not have a formal AI policy. So it's in about 10% of firms actually have an AI policy, but yet 40% of employees, and this was 6 months ago, are using AI day to day. So there is a proliferation of AI and this accessible nature and the benefits that it brings to everyday lives.
So should we talk a little bit about the common claims around AI? So what is AI regarded as, and how do people see it? And again, we did chat earlier, but I think some of the common claims have been, for example, that we'll all be made redundant because AI is going to take over our roles. I mean, Bertie, what do you think about that?
Well, but one of the important things is AI will definitely have a profound impact on the job market. I think that's pretty clear. And what's also pretty clear is that those who have an idea of how AI works and can facilitate AI will have a benefit on the job market. So it's not necessarily that AI will make you redundant, but someone knowing how to use it effectively and efficiently will have the edge over you in job applications.
It's interesting. Tom, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's going to have a massive effect. It probably already has. I mean, we're seeing it almost day to day. Just in our own business, we're using AI in different ways, and how can we use it? And as we were saying earlier, a lot of the software packages that we've got now, they've all got this little pop-up with the little sidebar that says, use AI to improve this, the way that you're doing something or other. I think from the job market perspective, I think there's definitely no doubt that certain roles will maybe not be quite required in the way that they have been, and they will change drastically. But I think generally across business, they are going to, you're going to have to, I think, to continue to succeed in your role, and you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to take it on board. I mean, that's not obviously this. I mean, I wouldn't say a bricklayer is necessarily going to use AI to improve their bricklaying, but I think any knowledge-based role is potentially there are ways that you can adopt AI and use it to improve your efficiency and your performance.
That roles will change, Becky, perhaps rather than people being made redundant, there'll be a different requirement for skills and different skills required in the future. Is that what we're talking about, an evolution of skill sets?
So some of the, I guess, the thoughts that companies have at the moment is how generative AI will change role profiles. So for example, it will make auditors or lawyers more efficient. So some of the mundane tasks can be can be done via generative AI. So AI has the ability to create more value, so human value in terms of doing different types of activities. And so there is a thought around how will it impact roles in the future of work and a profession at sort of a macro level. But also we know that 65% of the roles have not yet been invented. So AI will and technology will allow humans to do different types of work which are more value driven. And as I said, 65% of roles are not even invented yet. So that blows my mind.
That's quite a big change, isn't it?
But there's, to me, a risk there in expecting AI to take all those mundane tasks off of you.
Yes.
And
maybe it's a wish list for people.
Well, I'm sure this will happen, and it is happening already. However, the risk is that all of those more demanding tasks will stay with the humans, and that means it will have a huge impact on burnout, and you'll have to expect to kind of slow down somehow, and that might lead to...
I agree with that. So we had this conversation recently. If you look at TA, so talent acquisition, I can directly, I guess, relate to the industry and profession that I'm in. There is a thought around, can AI replace some of the mundane or the administrative tasks? It can. However, what we need to do is make sure that we are building different capabilities into the profession. So, for example, if a more demanding type of work or more sort of that requires more curiosity or applied thinking, then we need to also train those individuals in the profession to be able to deal with that kind of activity. And to your point, Bertie, around burnout, and what we're seeing is that AI has replaced certain tasks in talent acquisition, for example, but yet we haven't actually trained the talent acquisition professionals to do different types of work. So, for example, stakeholder-driven work, having difficult conversations with stakeholders, strategy development. So there is a risk of replacing work, but not actually then contributing and upskilling. And
I suppose perhaps there's an expectation then of the same level of output from an individual seat if you look at it from an organisational design perspective. But if the tasks in that role are significantly harder or more draining, to your point then, Bertie, actually you've got to expect slightly less of an output, a more quality output perhaps, rather than more of an administrative output. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how people structure their businesses accordingly.